So now we're going to go through the Property Condition Disclosure Statement. The Property Condition Disclosure Statement, or PCDS as it's known in the industry, is a supporting document usually requested by a purchaser or the purchaser's agent either prior to an offer or at the time of an offer as a condition of the offer, really outlining if the vendor has had any problems with the property. You don't always get this filled in, and it's always a vendor's choice if they want to supply a property condition disclosure statement. There are occasions where you won't be able to do this, such as a bank foreclosure and an estate sale. So the PCDS, as it's going to be known here, is a very simple form, but it's a bit of a pain to fill out for the vendors. The vendors always fill this out, never the agent, and we're going to reiterate this quite a few times. You'll see here that it's for use by members of the Newfoundland Association of Realtors for MLS listings only. Your property location with the civic address should auto-populate from web forms. And then it's a checkbox system with the vendors responding with yes, no, do not know, or does not apply. And as stated here, the vendors are responsible for the accuracy of these answers, and if they're uncertain, they should reply do not know, as this disclosure statement is going to form part of the agreement, purchase and sale and contract. So you'll see the categories here, such as water supply. If the property is not on municipal water, you should see and if they've got proof of when the water was last tested by the Department of Health. You've got a sewer system and the information on when it was last pumped. The electrical system. For a 2-apartment home, sometimes the vendors are not aware of what the amperage is. So in a 2-apartment home, for example, you'd have generally a 100 amp panel downstairs and a 125 upstairs. Most regular single family homes are a 200 amp. You always check this with the vendors in person. If you do not know, simply put do not know. And always disclose if there have been many major upgrades that have been carried out to any of these systems since the property has been owned or in the last 5 years. Further down the line we talk about the plumbing system and if there's been any problems with the plumbing system or any changes. For example, if they've changed from copper to PEX, it's probably worth noting. Then you're going to go through the heating system, structural problems, and if you'll see here on 6B and C we've checked that yes, there's been some problems. Have you been aware of major structural problems, leakage, dampness in the roof or walls, and have there been any repairs? So I've checked yes here just for an example for later in this form. Then you cover mechanical, municipal, environment and general. So here you want to disclose any information which is relevant to the property. In 8B, you're going to need to know how many units are approved for occupancy. Is it a 1, 2 or a 3 unit? (7B), you're always going to cover which property, the property of what is leased there. Is the hot water tank leased? Propane tanks, alarm systems? It's a good time to gather that information. For properties, you're going to make sure that they don't contain UFI, urea formaldehyde foam insulation. If they do, it's worth disclosing here at all times. And at the very bottom, you've got the part about easements and right-of-ways. You should always have a copy of the survey and real property report, and if there are any easements on there, make sure they're disclosed. And you see here on page 2 of the form, what we've got covered here is from 6B and C. Yes, there was a problem with a leak in the roof here on this, for example, and he had new shingles in the past 12 months to correct the issue. This will make the buyer comfortable with the situation with regards to any leak in the property and whether it was fixed or not. Towards the bottom of the form, you'll see a couple of bits of information there. You'll see that the information has been provided to the best of the knowledge, and that they're going to disclose any further changes to the condition of the property since the completion of this statement. Make sure your vendors are always aware that they're filling that out. And here's a little disclosure from the real estate board stating that the information is believed to be correct, but we assume no responsibility to the purchasers, and it's up to the purchasers, agent and buyers, as they assume no responsibility for the liability of its accuracy. Again, the PCDS, the property condition disclosure statement, the vendor is always to fill out this form, not the real estate agent. And if you're supplying the vendor, make sure they understand that they must tell you if any changes have occurred since they've signed this form.